Guys, welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial I'll be sharing with you how I made this corset, which is the sewing part of the pattern we drafted in the previous video. So if you've seen how to draft the pattern for this corset, this video is how to sew it, how we joined it and make it into a complete outfit. So if you've not seen the video on how I drafted the pattern, I'll link it in the description box so you can check it out and learn how to draft your own, then come back and watch this video on how to join it. So it's fun and easy. So guys, I've gone ahead to cut my pattern on my fabric and on my lining, and I've ironed my interfacing on it. And this is what I have. I cut the front on the fold, and I'm just going to arrange them the way I'll be sewing. So that's my pattern 4 for my front. Then I'm just showing you how I'm going to be aligning them, and that's my 3, and I'm putting on the 3 on the other side. This is my number 2. I'm going to pick up the number 2 and place it where it's supposed to be, and the other one. So just follow your pattern marking, and that's my number 1 cut on the fold. So I'm just picking my number 3 and 4, then I'll pin it. See the way I aligned everything together. Then I'll mark my seam allowance of 0.5 inch. I'm marking it round, and I'm going to pin at that point, as you can see me do. So to avoid one part is longer than one, so I'm just showing you how you should do it. Then I'm going to pin my number 2 to my number 1. So remember, it's 2 number 2 we have and 1 number 1, so just pin it side by side. Then do the same thing on the other side to mark your seam allowance and pin the other number 2. So guys, next thing I'm doing now is I'm just showing you what I did again. Mark my seam allowance and just pick up my number 2. Remember, there are 2 number 2 and they can't be pinned on both sides. Do you get? So just pin, and I'm doing it from down because that's the way it's comfortable for me. I'm doing the same thing for my other side, and I'm just pinning and marking my seam allowance, as you can see me do. So I'm done with the bodice of the front, and I'll just go ahead and set that aside so we can work on our cups. So this is my number 1 for my cup. I'm just marking my seam allowance on the part that I'll be joining with the rest of the cup. Remember, it's a 3-piece cup, so I'm just marking my seam allowance there, and I'm just going to remove my other cups, and I'm just marking that as a notch. So I'm just going to place that side by side to show you how I'll be marking them. Then place my number 2 close to it again, as it should be. Then pin. I'm pinning from the bottom again because it's easier for me that way. So that way I won't have shortage of fabric, or one fabric is longer than one. Do you get? So I'm just showing you what I did again. So that is it. Just pin and do the same thing for the other cup. Mark your seam allowance round and pin, and you should have this by now. So we're joining that later. So now this is my back. So I just placed that's my number 2 for my back, my side. Then this is the part that I notched, which is that part. So I'm just placing it where I'm supposed to place. That's why you should make notches when making your pattern. It helps. So just pin that too. Do the same thing for the other side of the back, and pin when you are done. So we are done with that. I'll do the same for the lining. So we are done with everything. So now I'll be sewing. So I'll just pick my back first. I'm just picking it at random though, but I'm sewing on my 0.5 inch seam allowance. So just make back stitch at the beginning and at the end of each stitch. The same thing, back stitch at the beginning and the end. So now this is my cup. I'm sewing, and I'm just using my seam allowance that I marked as a guide. So I make my back stitch and I'm done. Do the same thing for the other one. Use my seam allowance as a guide. I'm sewing directly on my seam allowance. So make your back stitch, and that's all. Do the same thing for the side. This is my number 3 and 4 joined together. I'm sewing from the bottom part, so it's easier for me that way. Do the same thing for the other part too. Do the same thing. Make sure they are well matched together, and just sew on your seam allowance. Make your back stitch. So now for number 1, I'm going to remove the other side, so I won't sew on it. Then I'm going to sew. Then I'm going to sew on that point to my seam allowance, as you can see me do. Make my back stitch. Cut it. Then place the other side of my number 2. Place it at the bottom and sew again. So now we have number 2 and 1 joined together, number 3 and 4 joined together. So I'll show you what next to do. So this is what we have, and do the same thing for your lining too, and just set that aside. So now we're working on our number 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we're joining number 3 and 2 together. See the way it's easy. So just pin that down, and as you can see, I just pick that up. Then I'll mark my seam allowance around 0.5 inch seam allowance. Just keep marking it around rather, till you get to where it ends. So when you do that, place that on your sewing machine and sew. So don't pull while sewing, right? Just follow the straight line or the slant line, because our style line is not straight, it's slant. So just cut and do the same thing for the other side too, as you can see me do. Mark your seam allowance and sew. So just sew that down, back stitch first, then so make your straight stitch. Then when you get to the end, make your back stitch, then you're done. Then cut. We are done with the bodies, meaning the cup. So now I'm going to iron that open, iron this point open, like iron it this way, iron it this way open. And for the cup, for the back to iron that part open too. Then for the cup, I'm going to make notches. Please don't cut through your seam allowance, just make notch, then iron it open. Make notch again on the other cup, iron it open. Do the same thing for the lining, make notches around that point, then iron it open. That is all. So I'm going to show you when I'm done ironing what next to do. So guys, I'm done ironing and this is what I have. They are neatly ironed and I'll just set that aside so we can work on our cups. So these are my cups, that my half cups. So I'm going to be bringing the number one and just placing them the way I want and pinning them, as you can see me do. So I'm just going to like pin. Remember, we already marked our seam allowance on the table, so I'm just going to like use the straight one. The straight one should be on top. It's going to be easier for you to join that way. So just so use the straight one to just follow the curve on the other part and just keep sewing. Don't worry, it's not hard, just keep sewing. So I've done the same for the other cups too, and I'll do the same thing for the lining. So I've done the same for the lining, so I'm going to like make notch on the new stitch we just made. Just going to like make notch on that point, make notch on that point also, so we can iron. The reason why we are making this notch is for us to easily open it while ironing, and so it can lay flat. Do you get? So that's why we make notches. And yeah, that's how we make notches. So just keep making your notches and I'll show you what next to do. Make notches around. Please don't cut through your seam allowance. So make sure you iron that open, iron it open. Do the same thing for everything, iron it open. Then I'll come back and show you. So this is what I have. So I'm going to be trimming my seam allowance to 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to like trim that point down. Just trim everything, and also the other seam allowance that is under, just trim that so that our cup can fit in. This seems for everything. I'm going to trim this part too, then trim this part, trim it for my main fabric too. So now I'm marking my seam allowance on my cup round so we can join it to the main body. So we can join the cup to the main body. Just mark your seam allowance. Do the same for all your cups and also your lining. I mean, yes, this one, just make your, just mark your seam allowance and you should have something like this. Then you'll be joining it to your main fabric. So now I'm going to make notches around my fabric so it can give me ease when fixing my cup, because the cup is curved and this point is cup, so it's going to like give me ease. I'm not going to like pull when I'm saying, you're going to say I'm going to do, I'm not going to like pull, but to just give me ease. Do you get? So I'm going to join the right cup to each side that is correct. Make sure you join the right side to each point. So just keep sewing. So when you get to that point, you can, don't pull too much, just a bit is okay. In fact, you don't even need to even pull that much. Just follow the curve, right? Cut and do the same for the other cup, which I'm going to show you. So now I tried pinning it at this point, but I had to remove my pin. So just watch closely. I made a mistake while joining the cup, but I corrected the mistake so you won't make the same mistake too. So I had to like join this way. I pulled my fabric, so when I pulled my fabric, which made me other one longer, so I had to like loosen it, then start afresh. That's why you shouldn't pull your fabric. Don't pull, just so if you encounter any difficulty, that's when you should like slightly pull. Do you get? So just keep sewing, sew that point down, just follow the curve, slightly curve, and yeah, we are almost getting to the end. And make your back stitch and we are done. So now I have my cup attached to my bodice and this is what we have. We'll do the same thing for the lining, then make notches around, make notch around that point also so we can iron it so it can lay flat. Yes, there's a lot of ironing when you want to make a corset, a lot of ironing. So let me just tell you that now. So just make your notch around, do your notch on this point too, do it on this point, on on everything. Just make your notch. Make sure you don't cut through your seam allowance, please. So guys, just iron this way, this same thing for your lining, and I'll show you what next to do. So now we'll be adding boning to our lining. So before we add boning, on the part we'll be adding our loop, we're going to go in by 0.5 inch. The reason why we're going in by 0.5 inch so we can add boning at that point, so it can give us so that place can be sturdy. So when we put our loop, it's going to be strong. Do you get? Which is going to make sense when you make it. So just mark in 0.5 inch, which is your seam allowance. Just mark it in. Mark that in and you should have something like this. So guys, the next thing we're doing is to attach our boning. So I'm using a Regilene boning, which is a sew-on boning. So I'm just placing it on the line that I just marked, and I'm sewing it down. Then mark half an inch to the end of my my lining, then turn and sew. See that I'm not sewing boning through the lining because I'll be turning it, and that boning is going to make it hard to turn. So make sure you don't sew through. Just mark half an inch on it and below it. Do you get? So do the same thing for this point also. Mark your half an inch downward, sew down. When you get to that point, mark it, then cut. See that it's not going down. So just keep sewing, make your back stitch and turn around and do the same thing too. Just keep doing it, don't worry, you get it. Make your back stitch at that point. So now we're doing adding boning to the front. So now for the front, we don't need to like mark half an inch because there's already like a guide there. So just go below the cup, don't sew over your seam allowance, just go below the cup, then start sewing at that line, keep sewing, then mark that point. I'm picking my chalk, so mark that point, then cut, then make your back stitch here, then turn, make your back stitch. When you get to the end, then make your back stitch. So do the same thing for the other side of the seam allowance, which is the second side. Do it again, make your back stitch, sew down, mark, cut, and just keep sewing, then make your back stitch there again and turn. So I'm doing this way so I don't have to like remove my fabric again, my lining again, and put it back in the same way. That's why I'm turning. So you find it that very easy and time efficient. So I'm going to do the same thing on this point also. Make sure you're not sewing on your seam allowance, please. Go below your seam allowance. So mark that point, then make your back stitch, turn again, then sew, then make your back stitch. Then you should have something like this. Now do the same thing for the other side, and yeah, I'm done doing things for the other side too, and I'll go ahead and iron. So now to add our cup to our front, we're going to pick up our cups and we're going to join together. Make sure pin them at that point, then mark 2 inches downward. This is the top of my cup, please, the top of my cup. So mark 2 inches down, then make a dart line, then sew your darts down. You should have something like this now to be more cuppy. Yeah, so do the same for this point. So I got a cup slightly bigger than me. With my cup, my boss is 32 normally, but I got cup 34. So you see, so I can take out that. So that's what I did. So do the same for the second cup, and this is what you should have. So now we're going to be placing it. So I'll be placing it on my seam allowance, but I'll be tilting it towards the front. I'll be away from the front. So as you can see, I'll just pin that point down, pin that point down, pin it to my seam allowance. Just keep pinning to my seam allowance. Then arrange the front the way I want it to be, so there won't be any gap or bulge. So just keep pulling and keep pulling. Arrange it very, very well, and pin inside too. Just arrange it very well, as you can see me do, and pin. Don't worry about that side that's between. We are going to like trim it out because we got the cup slightly bigger than me rather, because this is my measurement. Sorry guys. So just keep pinning and pinning and pinning till you get it. So this is nice. I just remove that pin and repin again. That is all, and I like it. So I'll do the same for the other side. Tilt the front, then pin, then pin, then go turn it out and just pull so you won't have any bulge. So just pin. It's easy, honestly. Just keep pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. So I'm marking where I'll be cutting. So I'm just going to like trim off that excess. We don't need it. Just trim it off. Do the same for this point because it's going out of half. Then after trim, I'm going to place my foot of my sewing machine at the edge. Then just keep sewing. I'm sewing on my seam allowance. I'm not sewing on the you won't even know that there's a stitch outside. So I'm just placing my foot at the edge. Then I'll make my back stitch and cut. Do the same for the other cup. See, it's not going out of the seam allowance. Do the same for the other cup. Sew my seam allowance, putting my foot at the edge, like see the placement. So just place it that way and just keep sewing around. It's easier, honestly. So just keep sewing around. Then when you get to the end, make your back stitch. So just keep sewing. Then this is what we have. Then I'll be using my hemming glue to like glue it down to just make it more fine and more neat. So I'm just placing my hemming glue inside, and I'll be ironing that also. So do the same for the second part. Just cut your hemming glue into pieces and just place them inside at random. There's no like calculation for that. Just keep placing them, and that's what you have. So now I'll be attaching my back. So to attach my back, I just place the side of my back on the side of my front, right sides facing each other, and I'll pin. I'll do the same for the other side. So right side facing each other, then I'll pin, and I'll just keep pinning. Then I'm going to mark my seam allowance of 0.75 inch. 0.75 inch. So if you use 1 inch as a seam allowance, mark 1 inch, but I used 0.75 like I said when we're drafting the pattern. So I'm just going to like do that again to show you so you can see it. So I just pinned that, my side of my back to my side of my front, right side facing each other, then just pin and keep pinning, and then mark your seam allowance 0.75 or 1 inches if you are taking 1 inches, by 1 inch rather, but I used 0.75 inch, right? So I'll do the same for the other side. Just mark my seam allowance and sew. So I'll just make a back stitch at this point, then sew that down, and at the end make another back stitch. So I'll cut, then do the same for the other side, make my back stitch, then sew, then I'll make a back stitch and cut. So that's what we have. So I'll be ironing that point also. Don't forget to iron your cup. So now I'll be cutting my strap. To cut my strap, I'm going to fold my fabric this way, but it was too long, so just watch closely, right? So I'm going to trim that side down just to make it straight, just to give me a straight point to work with. So I'll be measuring. So I'm folding the content. I need 0.75 as my strap. That's my strap width. I'm not using like 1 inch for my strap width. So what I'll be doing is I'll be measuring 2.5 inch as my strap width, then I'll fold into 2. So when I fold into 2, it's going to give me what I want, and I'll sew. So I'm just telling my strap length is 28. So 28, my fabric is on the fold, so 28 divided by 2 is 14. So I'm measuring 14 inches. 14 inches plus 1 inch seam allowance is 15. So I'll just measuring 15. So 15 is the width. So when I open it up, it's going to be 30 inches together. Then you get, so I'll be using that as seam allowance. So I'm just marking that down, and I'm going to rule that. So what I marked was 2.5 inch. 2.5 inch is the width for our strap. So I'm just going to like trim that down, and I'm going to place it on the fabric again. We're cutting 4 straps, so if you don't want it this long, you can reduce the length, but this is what's okay for me. And I'll just trim, place it again, I'll just place it again, then trim, then do the same for the last part. Then I'll check if it's enough, which is very much enough. So I'm just going to like cut. Then we'll be cutting our lace and our loop together. So I'm just showing you what the strap look like. We have 4 in total, and I'm showing you how I'll be folding. So I'm folding right side facing each other, and I'll iron. So I'll be cutting my loop now, and my strap, so on my lace rather. So this is what I have. I already had this tiny 1 inch long fabric I cut, so I'm using it as a guide. So I'm just showing you how I'll be folding it. So I'm folding it, so 1 inch is definitely enough. So I'm just measuring that. I'll just cut this point. I just cut multiple of it, then I'll be joining them together. When I join them together, it's going to form like a long lace, which from it I'll be cutting my strap. So I'm going to cut it again, cut this point again, then just keep cutting until I get my desired length, which was about 18 inches long. So this is what I have after ironing. I've already ironed the right side facing each other. So now I'll be sewing. I'll be using this straight stitch, making back stitch at each point. So I took my seam allowance of 0.5 inch, then I'm just sewing on that point. So I'm just sewing that down, right side facing each other. Don't forget, you iron first, then you sew. So I'll just sew to the end. Just keep sewing, too long, so just keep sewing, right? So make your back stitch. Do the same thing for all straps. Pick another strap, sew it right side facing each other, and just keep sewing till you get to where it ends, then make a back stitch. So just keep sewing, sharp. Remember, it's 4 strap we have, so I'll do the same for the rest, and this is what we have. So I'll be turning it inside out now using my safety pin. So I'm just cutting them off. I'm trimming that side off just to like reduce the bulk at that point, so that when we are turning it in, to be easier for us to like turn it in, and also to be when we iron, it's going to like lay really flat. So I'll just trim that point down. Just watch me. I'm just trimming it down. Please don't cut through your seam allowance again. Just trim to about 1/4 of an inch. So this is my safety pin. So I just put my safety pin inside at one point, then push it inside, then keep pushing it inside till I get to the end, then bring it out and then start dragging my fabric. So just watch, it's self-explanatory, and I've done this several times on my channel. So just keep pulling, and when it's out, remove your safety pin, then keep drawing. If you have a loop turner, you can use a loop turner for this, but I don't have, so I have to use what I have, which is the safety pin. So just keep pulling and make sure you don't like injure yourself, right? So just keep pulling, be careful guys. Keep pulling, and when you get out, just pull. I'll do the same thing for the rest, then come back and show you guys what next to do. So now to get the point I'll put in my strap is I measured from my cup edge to 2 inches inward. So I'll be placing my strap on that 2 inches inward. Look at the way I ironed it. So the line, I'm placing the right side for the strap on the right side of my fabric. So I ironed it flat this way, as you can see. Then do the same thing, putting it on the line of my dart. That's for the back, and at the other side of the back on the line of my dart. So those things are guides. So just make your stitch, just make small stitch at that point. So I'm just cutting that point, trimming it a bit, trimming this point a bit, and also the lower part, just trimming it a bit. So now we'll be turning it with our front, But before we do that, we'll mark our seam allowance on at the edge of the front, so which is 0.5 inch. So I'm just marking 0.5 inch at my main fabric, making 0.5 inch on my main fabric, because that will be to tone with our line. So just mark that down. So it's going to give us like a really nice tone, and also it's going to be nice and clean, right? That's why we're marking seam allowance. So now I just put my my lining at the back, right side facing each other, and I'm just pinning that together. So just pin. Make sure you arrange your strap so it does not, you don't sew it with your clothes. You get, make sure the strap is inside. So just keep sewing and just keep pinning rather. So just pin and pin to that point. Make sure everything is aligned. So I'm just sewing on my seam allowance. I'm just sewing that around, moving my pin as I'm sewing. So just keep sewing, guys. So when you get a counter curve, make sure you curve your sewing foot so you can catch that curve very well. So just keep removing your pin and sewing, and keep sewing, right? Keep sewing. So when you get to that point, do a back seat, then trim. So the next thing I'll be doing is I'm just showing you that I didn't catch any of my strap and it is nicely placed. So I'll be making notch on the edge of my already sewn stitch. So I'm just making notch around that point, so that notch is going to make it lay really flat. So just keep making your notch, then trim. I'm going to trim it to 1/4 inch again, like I always do. So just trim. So just trim. So this is what we have. So now I'll be doing a top stitch on it. So just make your top stitch. So I'll be pushing my seam allowance to my lining, then I'll sew my lining, then I'll just keep pulling my main fabric, so that when we are wearing it, our lining is not going to show outward. This one is going to like secure the lining inside the clothes, right? So I'm just sewing that, making a top stitch on my lining. So just keep sewing, pull your strap when needed, and also on your strap, just keep sewing on your lining. So I'll just come back when I'm done. I'll show you what next to do. So guys, I'm done making my top stitch. This is what it looks like. It is neat and it is looking together. So I'll be placing on my strap in the center so that I don't sew it when I want to like turn my fabric. So now I'm placing my lining on my main fabric, then I'm going to like pin. As you can see me do, just do what I'm doing. So for this point, I'm going to be sewing on my lining. Why? Because I don't want to sew on my boning, so I can see my boning clearly on my lining. So that's why I'm sewing on my lining for this point. So I'm just going to like keep pinning till I get to the other side of the back. So just keep pinning, guys. Keep pinning and keep pinning and keep pinning and keep pinning. It's easy, honestly. So when you're done, just sew on that point, then mark your seam allowance first before sewing. So just keep marking your seam allowance, then sew on it. I didn't show it on camera. I thought my camera was recording, but it wasn't. So it's easy, sure. Just keep sew on that point. I'm so sorry, guys. So just mark. So I'm done sewing. Yeah, I'll just be trimming my seam allowance. Just trim that edge very well. Trim. So we have this now, so we'll be turning. So I'll just put my hand inside the clothes, then put my hand inside, then try dragging the other side in. So be careful with this point so you don't break any seam. Just keep sewing, just keep pulling rather, and don't worry, it's going to come out. So push, and here we have our corset. We're almost done, guys. So just arrange it the way you want to arrange it very well. Arrange it very well so we can iron it. See that everything is looking neat. It's not looking like kind of like a reversible corset. So now the part that will be adding our loop, just fold it inside. Use your boning as a guide. Fold it inside. Then you iron at that point. See the way I'm folding it. Just fold it inside. Fold it inside. That way then iron. Do the same for the other side. Fold it inside. As you can see, just fold. So now because so in our loop, so my loop, I'm gonna like join everything together. So I'll fold it this way and fold it this other way. Then so the way I folded, that's the way you'll be folding it. Then so place your machine foot on the edge and just keep sewing. Just make a straight stitch, make a back stitch at the beginning and the end of each stitch. So just keep sewing. I countered the challenge there, then I just had to like fix it and continue sewing. So just keep sewing, guys. It's easy, honestly. And as you're sewing, be putting your the raw edge of your fabric inside, folding it inside. As you can see me, just keep folding it inside. It's easy, honestly. Just keep folding it inside and keep doing that. So here's the end. I'm done, and we have our lace. So I'll be cutting from it to make our loop. So I'm measuring 3 inches, mark that 3 inches, then cut. Then I'll be down as a guide to cut the rest. I'm cutting 10 in total. So just keep cutting till you get to 10 or multiple of how many you want. So just make sure it is the number you can share on both sides, right? So 10, I'm cutting 10, so 5 for each side of the back. So now I'm folding my loop into two, then I'm trying to like measure, which didn't work for me, so I'll just measure that I had 7 inches. So 7 inches, I'll just fold, then pin at this point, then measure 1 inch down, then pin again, do the same thing for the other side. Because of the bone in there, that's why it's looking as if it is hard, so just take your time and also be careful with your pins. So just measure that point again, pin, measure 1 inches again, then pin. So guys, yeah, I noticed that the remaining distance was small, it's not going to be enough, so I had to remove it again. I didn't just watch, you see why I had to remove it, then start again, but I left my number. So I'm measuring 1.75 and 1.25 inch, which was okay. So I'll pin, measure 1.25 inch again instead of 1 inch that I measured earlier. So measure 1.25 inch again, then from that third one again, measure another 1.25 inch again, then place it. I wanted everything to be 5, so then put the last one inside. So this is what we have. I like it this way, so I'm going to pin that point also, which was very hard, but just take your time. So now next I'll do, that one is already acting as a guide, so I'm just going to like place it side by side, then pin, then place this one where down is again, then pin, then do the second one, then pin, then do this other one, then pin. So guys, do the last one also. You don't need to pin down, but if you want to, if you have muscle, pin it. So it's hard actually, so just place it inside, and I'm going to sew on that edge. So I'm just going to do my back stitch at that point, then sew at the edge, then sew it down. This is why I have this same thing for the second side also. I'm sewing from the down part because that's where I find easy for this other side. So just make your back stitch and just sew downward, and just keep sewing, then you make your back stitch again, you are done. So guys, that is it. So now I wanted to be extra, I wanted to make another stitch, but it was too bulky, so I just left it. So now for the strap, just fold it this way, then sew on that point. Do that for all the strap, fold it to the wrong side, then so fold it to the wrong side again, then so do the same thing for the last one also, and you should have your neatly done straps. So just do that for the second one, and you should have this. So you should have it. So guys, thank you so much for watching today, and thank you for staying to the end. I really do appreciate. Kindly subscribe to my channel. Let's grow this channel together, and I'll see you in future videos. If you forgot to subscribe, this is me telling you, please subscribe again, like, leave a comment if you find anything confusing, and if you just want to say something to me, just leave a comment, and I'll see you in future video again. Bye.